Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ultraverse podcast with Chase and Casey, where we talk about all things Ultraverse.
This is episode number 13, and we are going to finally dive into Proxima C.
Proxima C Deep Dive.
That's right.
It is.
Long-awaited episode.
It is. And it's super early in the morning. So we have once again swapped out our alcohol for coffee. So
Boo.
I know. It's lame.
Which I just found out that I'm fidgety before this episode. So with all this caffeine, I'll be extra fidgety.
So this will be good.
So that was a good revelation that I had.
All right.
I didn't have, my wife told me about.
Yeah, Chase never knew he was fidgety. So, are you ready? Ready to start?
I guess.
Okay.
If you're sure you don't want to drink alcohol at whatever time it is.
I think I do. I don't think I do.
I've got a schnauzer between my legs. This shouldn't be distracting at all.
That'll make you even extra fidgetier. Fidgetier?
Well, the good thing is we're going to have slides up a lot of the time. So I'm going to go deep into Proxima C and Proxima C Ultra, Proxima C Endurance Fuel, and Proxima C Ultra. I'm going to be doing most of the talking here because Casey doesn't know very much about it.
No, and I would just rather click the mouse.
She's going to be my clicker again. But I'm going to bounce back and forth a bit between Proxima C Endurance Fuel and Proxima C Ultra. For those of you who don't know, Proxima C Endurance Fuel has been the fuel of ours that's been out on the market for 3 years now? 2 or 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And Proxima C Ultra is going to be a new fuel that we will be releasing this year that is very similar. But we're going to differentiate between the two and clarify which might be best in different situations. We're going to mainly focus on Proxima Ultra because we do consider it to be the new standard for ultra running fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it's going to sound probably a little bit cocky to say this, but Proxima C Endurance Fuel was the standard for ultras before that, even if some people don't know it.
Or believe it.
Yeah, because it was actually created for ultras in mind. And we're going to kind of go into why that is actually a thing in this episode. We believe Proxima C Endurance Fuel, our first fuel, does still have a place even when Proxima Ultra hits the lineup. We aren't keeping it around to offer a better and best version. We're only interested in the best. That's always how we've been with our supplement business. But there are situations where Proxima Endurance Fuel might be the better choice, and that is why we are continuing with its production. In a way, we're keeping it around allows us to absolutely fine-tune and totally geek out on ultra running, pure ultra running specific fuel, which is what the Proxima Ultra is going to be.
Yep.
Essentially, the longer distance, the more beneficial it will be to use Proxima Ultra for half marathons, 50Ks, and maybe even 50 milers, depending on how you run them. Proxima Endurance Fuel is probably still the best bet for you. The two have more similarities than differences. Differences include small tweaks to the carb profile and electrolyte profile. Dextrose and fructose have been replaced by mostly palatinose with Ultra, which I realize that some of these things probably don't mean anything to you, but that is why we're having this podcast right here.
Also, they're a different flavor.
That's right. Which we just got the flavor profile and finally accepted
it. So that's a big step in Proxima Ultra coming out. So we're really excited about it.
For sure.
It's delicious.
We turned down a lot of different flavors and varieties. Sent them back, not sent them back, but said we wanted tweaks.
Yeah.
Orange.
And
it is delicious.
Super good.
So the differences between the two mainly involve glycemic impact and the ability to utilize fat as fuel for ultra runners and keeping energy stable over the long haul. There are also small changes to the amount of electrolytes, essentially allowing for more calories for the amount of electrolytes you're taking in with Ultra. And then there's also a little bit more ornithine in Ultra. And if you haven't watched our podcast on electrolytes, you should check that out too, because you'll kind of understand that whole concept a little bit better from
we can also link that in the notes below too.
Yeah. But my plan is we're going to have 2 Proxima C Ultra podcasts because I just talk too much about it and I over-explain.
You over-explain.
I think that's good in this situation.
It is.
Maybe
it is
some
good.
people will disagree.
Some people find it super helpful.
Yeah. If you're one of those people, this is for you. If not, then
too fucking bad. Don't be a pussy.
That's right. Sorry we forgot that last week. But my goal is to eventually splice these two Proxima C podcasts together and just stick it on YouTube without all the podcast fluff. So it's basically just an informative video without all this shit in between. Yeah. Basically cut Casey out. Yes. You know, all the fluff.
Thank God.
So, are we on our slides already?
We are.
Okay, we weren't supposed to be there yet, but whatever.
This is the whole thing.
The new Proxima C Ultra stands on the shoulder of the giant, the original Proxima C.
It does.
First of all, click. I don't have to say it out loud, right?
You don't have to say the word click. I can click.
Okay. Ultrarunning needs its own fuel, guys. Many fuels are marketed as optimal for all types of endurance sport. We do not believe that that's possible. The unique demands of ultrarunning call for unique fuel. If not formulated for specific durations, intensities, conditions, and potential problems specific to ultrarunning, then it can't be the best. It's just a totally different sport than a half marathon, a 5K, even a marathon. So building off that point, let's talk about how ultrarunning is unique to other endurance sports to give you an idea of why it needs its own fuel. First of all, ultrarunning is primarily aerobic in nature, whereas other endurance sports are not. The longer the duration and distance, the more true this becomes. So 100K is going to be more aerobic on average than a 50K.
Yeah.
Sorry about the laughing.
Miles is raging in the background.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it, but he's just playing fetch with himself with his
a
bone.
Really hard bone on a hard floor. So it's fun.
Second of all, because we are at a lower intensity for a much longer duration, and this mainly has to do with duration, there is time to deplete all electrolytes. Shorter duration endurance activities, you don't necessarily require more than sodium. Mm-hmm. You can get by with just sodium. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of tell when you're looking at fuels if they're specifically made for ultrarunning, which there really isn't any, or are trying to check that box because most of them will just have sodium. At least a lot of them will. Mm-hmm. The other thing, and a big thing, you have the ability and the option to use a high percentage of fat as fuel if you don't shut it down. This is something that must be taken advantage of, in my opinion, for optimal performance in ultra marathons. Studies confirm that ingesting higher glycemic carbs inhibits the ability to burn fat as fuel significantly more than ingesting lower glycemic carbs. And it does so longer.
Mm-hmm. So for people who might not know, how do you use fat as fuel?
How do you use it?
What do you need to do to use fat as fuel?
So we will get into that.
Okay.
But you need to not shut it down. Mm-hmm. And that is by taking in lower glycemic carbohydrates compared to higher glycemic carbohydrates. Certain carbohydrates allow you the ability to preserve fat oxidation better than others do. Mm-hmm. Next, avoidance of gastrointestinal distress. Any ultramarathoner listening to this knows this is of the utmost importance. More DNFs occur for GI issues than for any other reason. And it might not necessarily be, I DNF because of GI issues, but it started with that and it trickled down to something else. Mm-hmm. GI issues can be just sloshing in your stomach, bloating, diarrhea, puking. And if you have diarrhea or puking, that's going to lead to dehydration, which, so you might say you were dehydrated, but did it start with the GI issues because you're puking and things like that? You might say that you're underfueled, but did it start with GI issues because you could no longer take in calories because you would puke if you did?
Yeah.
So many things stem back to that.
When you talk about the sloshing, like I've been there and that's such a miserable thing. Ugh.
Well, do you remember that's how I used to be every race?
Yeah, you used to have terrible tummy problems.
Clustered extrin solved that for me.
Yeah.
And part of the reason it's such a big deal is because you need to, and it's not in other endurance sports, is because you need to take a lot more calories during ultras than you do during that. You don't need to take anything in during a half marathon if you go in carb loaded. You don't need any calories for that. Maybe some sodium and water, that's about it. Marathon, you need some, depending on if you go in carbohydrate loaded is how much you will need. But you need a lot in ultra running because it does allow for time to completely deplete your glycogen. And another reason is running causes a lot more bouncing in your stomach and sloshing as it is, which does upset your stomach over time. So you need something that passes through quickly and causes as little GI distress as possible. And there's plenty of studies out there comparing carbohydrates and which ones cause more GI issues than others.
And I bet you're going to tell us about that.
I sure as hell am. Another reason is energy stability over time, which is not a big deal in shorter duration things, but it is in longer due to a lot of factors. But what we ingest does play a role. And when I mentioned central fatigue, which is the next point here, central fatigue is basically the fatigue of your nervous system, and it affects basically all performance attributes, endurance, speed, strength, perceived effort, etc. And that's just something that people don't really have to deal with in a 2, 3, 4, 5 hour race.
Right.
It's a multi-day race. I mean, you're going to deal with a lot of central fatigue.
Yeah, well, you just have to think about how much concentration it takes to stay moving, stay on the trail, not falling.
Absolutely.
Decision making, making sure you're drinking it.
So all that being said, before we move on to the next slide, if I was going to run a marathon, Proxima Endurance Fuel would be my fuel, even though it was originally specifically designed for ultras. It's still amazing for ultras. I just want to kind of differentiate between the two here. Some might think that Proxima C Endurance Fuel would be overkill for those types of races, but I totally disagree because most of the studies I've seen on the advantages of things like cluster dextrin over maltodextrin or sucrose or dextrose or fructose and things like that are on shorter duration endurance activities. The studies are. There's just more of those out there than there is ultra running studies. Yeah,
it's more accessible for sure.
So even if you exclude the ultra specific factors like the ability to use fat as fuel and everything else I mentioned above, the fact is that cluster dextrin is simply superior to those fuels on all grounds, even in the shorter distances. It leads to reduced perceived exertion, improved time to exhaustion, less GI issues, and better times. So I think we can go on to the next slide.
Click.
Oh yeah, this is yours. Good. So Casey's going to take this section. My notes are out of order.
No, they're not. I have them over here.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I'll give them back to you.
Okay. So then we're going to talk Casey's going to talk a little bit about our experience with manufacturers. And I just want to say, remember, anyone can make a supplement. It doesn't require any sort of education or anything on nutrition.
We didn't have to provide our manufacturers with any proof that we knew what we were talking about. So they will, if you give them money, they will make it.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so manufacturers are not nutrition experts and literally know nothing about ultra running. We've worked with 2 manufacturers now, and neither of them had a clue what we were talking about. They offer to help us create the supplements with other experts. They're not necessarily nutrition experts from our experience.
And if they do have any sort of background in nutrition,
it's not geared towards ultra running.
Exactly. Because here's the thing, guys. You can listen to registered dietitians and things like that. And these people know a lot about nutrition. Okay.
Yeah.
And same with us. We got our degrees, graduate degrees in nutrition as well. But those curriculums do not dive into ultra running at all. If they dive into anything related to endurance, it's just typical endurance should. I mean, they do not talk about it, and it is different. So unless those experts are doing additional research on the side, which is basically what I've devoted all of my nutrition education to, then they still don't know how to optimally fuel for ultra marathons.
Yeah. Another thing with the manufacturers is a lot of the stuff out in the world is the same with just little baby tweaks because it's super cost effective.
Yep.
And that's kind of goes into the next one as well. They always want you to use the cheapest bulk ingredients to save money for you to be able to order more at a time
Yep.
and make your profits the highest. They want to create cheap bulk formulas that are very similar, just with minor tweaks.
And maybe it's also because that's all they know,
That's true.
because
Yeah.
they don't know the
That's like what's
differences.
leading in the market,
Yeah.
probably, which fine, whatever. Yeah, they just want you to make a cheap, highly profitable formula. And we had to argue with them about that. I can't tell you how many times. The first time we ordered like all 3 of the supplements the first time.
So the things that it was really hard for them to wrap their head around was that people are going to be taking this. They're not taking a serving of this.
Right.
They're taking it for days, maybe 2 or 3 servings per hour for 24 hours, 48 hours or more.
Mhm.
And then the other thing they can wrap their head around was the flavoring and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah, they really like our first samples of Proxima were like slap you in the face strong.
Yeah, which I think
Which is
most supplement
yeah.
companies have figured out that
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be that strong, but I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know that they figured out the best
Like when Chase asked for the quote for T30 and Terminus the first time, they were like, "Wow, that's gonna be really expensive." And we're like, "We know.
Yeah,
Use what
and
we're telling
it
you. We know
was.
why we want it that way." And it just took a lot of back and forth. So anyone can make a supplement. Manufacturers don't know everything. They are gonna make what you tell them to make.
Yeah, and in the next podcast on Proxima, we're going to actually get into cost versus value a
Yes.
little bit, and like basically comparing the cost of ingredients with, say, what's in Proxima C compared to what's in a typical endurance thing,
Mhm.
what you could buy those ingredients for.
Mhm.
Uh, and it'll be kind of mind blowing for you.
Yeah.
Okay, next slide. Click.
Click.
We're not very good at this. Not professional deal here. Couldn't have been a
We have
teacher.
a really low budget.
It's because our supplements cost so damn much. Glycemic index and why it's important in ultrarunning. First of all, it's important for fat oxidation, and it's important for energy swings and crashes over long periods of time. So high glycemic carbs will raise blood sugar more rapidly. That rapid rise sets off a cascade of physiological processes in the body. But one of the things that it results in is your body says, okay, I have this abundance of fuel coming in. I don't need to burn so much fat. I can shut that down and use this fuel, these carbohydrates, almost exclusively. The thing is, once your body shuts that down, it stays shut down for a while. Your body reacts in different ways to those high glycemic carbs, just like it reacts different to super high glycemic foods at rest. When you take in super high glycemic foods at rest, your body says, I have an abundance of fuel and I'm not doing anything. So I need to store it. And often it gets stored as fat for that reason. And FYI, this is for all the eat 400 grams of protein a day people out there.
Seems like a lot.
Because that's the new fad, right? Eat all protein. I'm not going to get into that, but just so you know, protein will convert to fat as well if you take in too much. Carbohydrates do, sugars do. Fat does, obviously. And
Fat
so
turns
does
to fat?
protein. Yeah.
Fat turns to fat?
If you're not using it, it can turn to fat. All right. So now we're going to get into a crash course on carbs. And this might be overkill just a little bit. If it is, I'm sorry.
He's not sorry.
But most people, I actually think this is the most important part of this podcast. Most people don't understand things that they think that they understand.
That's fair.
And I think that you can get some good info from this, and it kind of sets the stage for the next Proxima podcast and the next couple sections we're going to dive into in this one, which I can already tell this one's going to run long. I apologize. I'm going to go through the most common carbs as they relate to endurance fueling. If you're going to actually understand what carbs are best for ultra running, this is something that is at the foundation of that understanding. All right. Clickety clue, honey. Glucose. So glucose is the most abundant simple sugar in the body, and it is a monosaccharide. What is a monosaccharide? It's a simple sugar. Mono means one. Glucose is the source of energy in cell functions and is what most carbs are ultimately broken down into. Glucose has a glycemic index of 100, serving as the reference point for the glycemic index. Kind of everything's based on glucose. Glucose is 100. That's very high. It means it causes a very rapid spike in blood sugar. Next one we'll go into is fructose. Fructose is also a monosaccharide, which means it is also a simple sugar. A lot of people refer to fructose as fruit sugar. It has a glycemic index of 20, so quite low, meaning it does absorb and raise blood sugar quite slowly. Fructose is an important component of endurance fueling because it works on a unique transporter called the GLUT5 that only metabolizes fructose. That's the only thing it does. Therefore, it provides another energy source without oversaturating the transporters being used for other forms of carbohydrates. It's kind of like having a small reserve fuel tank. That said, too much fructose will cause GI issues. So using an appropriate amount is absolutely critical. You'll see many fuels use quite a lot of fructose. And I think less is more when it comes to fructose, when it comes to ultras. Okay, next, sucrose. And this is what we all think about when we think about sugar. This sucrose is white table sugar. And we just talked about glucose and we just talked about fructose. Sucrose is glucose and fructose in a 1-to-1 ratio, held together with a glycosidic bond.
It's a disaccharide.
It's a disaccharide. So 2 sugars. That makes sense, right? Glucose, fructose. Yes. It's made up of 2 monosaccharides held together with a glycosidic bond. A glycemic index of 65. Remember, glucose was 100, fructose was 20. And this is the main ingredient in Gatorade, Tailwind, and many other sports drinks. Your body will break that glycosidic bond and use both the glucose and fructose as fuel during whatever you're doing. Again, it's plain sugar. It's cheap.
Yeah. So is that why it's in most of them, because it's the cheapest?
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I mean, it's also effective at fueling. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of good studies on sucrose, most of them being on shorter distance endurance. Though,
is it the same though as where it causes GI issues if you take in too much?
I mean, compared to
others,
yeah, compared to clostridextrin and so on. Yeah. So here's the thing: would you say if someone gave you a sugar cube and they said, "Is this a simple sugar?" Would you say that that's a simple sugar?
It's not.
It's not. I think most people would say that it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't take in simple sugars. That's not a simple sugar.
Yeah.
It's a disaccharide.
Yeah.
Only monosaccharides are simple sugars.
You just gave me a pop quiz.
Yeah. I did. I'm going to do that some more.
Oh, God.
So only monosaccharides are simple sugars. Not that that really matters at all, but just so you know. Next. And the reason I did this one next is because look at the bond and look at what it's made of. This is palatinose, and this is one of the main ingredients in Proxima Ultra and Proxima C Endurance Fuel. Palatinose is a registered trademarked ingredient from Benio Corporation, and it is a disaccharide, just like sucrose. It has a glycemic impact of 32. And what was sucrose? 65. So less than half. But look, it's made up of the exact same stuff. 1-to-1 glucose to fructose ratio. The only difference is the bond. So all
chemistry.
Yeah. It's a different bond. It's in a different place. It breaks down differently. All you really need to know is that because of this different bond, the glucose and fructose are released much slower, resulting in a majorly reduced glycemic index, as you can see, of 32. This results in much more even energy due to the more consistent, more stable release of that energy, and most importantly, spares your body's ability to use fat as fuel. And then it also stabilizes your energy.
Does it have a better gastric emptying?
No,
No?
it's about the same. You know, it breaks down slower. Cluster dextrin is the main one that has the faster gastric emptying. But palatinose is very important as far as I was concerned with formulating, because it does provide that fructose. You know, because it's glucose in a 1-to-1 ratio without spiking the blood sugar.
Yeah.
You know, and fun fact, palatinose is actually considered a tooth-friendly sugar because it does not start to ferment or break down in the mouth like most sugars do. Because
nice.
it just breaks down slowly, and that all goes back to that bond. But for ultra running, palatinose, massive improvement over sucrose. Even though that they have a lot of similarities. The big difference between these two, palatinose, registered trademarked ingredient, super expensive. So much more expensive than sucrose. But I'll leave that until the next episode, which is probably why very few people actually use it in their formula.
Yeah.
Okay, clickety-clue.
Clickety-clock, clackety-clack.
It's not good when all you have to wet your whistle is coffee and you're already
Jack.
skittish, or whatever you called me. What'd you call me?
Like a homeless cat. Skittish, you're fidgety.
Fidgety. All right, maltodextrin. So before we get into maltodextrin, which maltodextrin is the primary, is it primary or is it the exclusive carbon hammer?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. They might have some fructose in there, but it's definitely the primary carbohydrate hammer. So maltodextrin is not considered a sugar. Whether or not something is considered a sugar should not impact your decision to use it as a fueling carbohydrate, which it does for people. They say, oh, they look at the label and they said that one doesn't have any added sugars in it. Great. It's better for me. Don't compare to what you're doing at rest to what you're doing during endurance activity.
Is this our first polysaccharide?
This is our first polysaccharide, and that's the reason it's not considered a sugar, okay? Which I'm getting into.
Gosh, I'm sorry.
The reason maltodextrin isn't considered a sugar is because it is a polysaccharide, and polysaccharides, by definition, are not sugars. Hi, Miles. Even though polysaccharides are long chains of monosaccharides, aka simple sugars. They're a bunch of monosaccharides, sugars, held together with a bunch of glycosidic bonds. Their definition has to do with their structure more than anything. So maltodextrin, look at the glycemic impact of maltodextrin. It's around 100. That's the same as pure glucose. Remember, sucrose, aka pure table sugar, has an impact of 65.
Which is lower.
Much lower. Yeah. Much, much lower. It's for this reason that maltodextrin is considered much more harmful to blood sugar, weight gain, and overall health than table sugar when taken at rest. Even though it won't show up on a nutrition label as a sugar. So why I'm saying this, I mention this all because if you are hating on sugar, at least know why you are doing so. Don't just look at a nutrition label and say, oh, no added sugars. This is better for me. I won't do all these horrible things that I hear about on the internet.
The interwebs.
Yeah. But we're talking about ultra running.
Sometimes.
No, we were.
Yeah.
Anyway, for this, you just need to know that malt has a glycemic impact of 100. That's high. It's the same as pure glucose. It is composed of chains of glucose molecules held together with glycosidic bonds. Once those bonds are broke, it's a bunch of pure glucose flooding into your bloodstream. So now, what I consider the king of carbs for endurance fueling. Highly branched cluster dextrin.
You'll also hear it called cyclic dextrin.
Yep. It's got a few different names. So also a polysaccharide, also not technically a sugar, and will not show up as such on a nutrition label. Sounds a lot like maltodextrin, right?
Yes.
Not at all. The structure makes all the difference. Cluster dextrin has a cyclical structure with little fingers or branches coming off of it instead of a long line, instead of a straight line. It has a glycemic index of around 25, which is quite low compared to other carbohydrate sources. Pair that with a fast gastric emptying time, which is so much of what makes cluster dextrin amazing. And not only does it have a fast gastric emptying time, but because of those little branches and fingers and stuff like that, it actually grabs other things in the stomach and pulls them through the stomach with it.
It's pretty cool.
And a lot of the digestion doesn't happen in the stomach. It's in the small intestine. The idea is to get it out of the stomach so it can digest and it can be out of your stomach and you don't have all the sloshing and that shit. In addition to the fast gastric emptying time, low instances of GI distress, which is basically a direct result of that. Improved hormonal response over sucrose and maltodextrin, increased time to exhaustion, lower perceived exertion, and you can easily see why we call it the king. I mean, those are your endurance attributes that you're looking for, right? All of those things.
It's like it was meant to be.
Exactly. It's the primary carbohydrate in Proxima C Endurance Fuel and Proxima C Ultra for that reason. Again, compared to maltodextrin, this is a registered trademarked ingredient. So as a result, it's super expensive. Okay, so that's the end of the crash course on carbs. There's a hell of a lot more carbs, obviously, but these are the main ones that are used in endurance fueling. So no reason to go over anything else. And I hope you learned a little bit from that section as to why we pick what we do.
Yeah.
So understanding nutrition labels, this is a little bit more of an educational slide, but it's very important because I guess my goal is for you to be able to look at an endurance product and tell if it's the best.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if you can actually do that, you'll look at ours and tell it's the best.
Yeah.
So do you know how to
toot your own horn or anything?
I mean, do you know how to read a nutrition label? So I saw on an ultra running podcast the other day, some host talking about a certain fuel. And I'm assuming because they're an ultra running podcast, they were talking it up for the sport of ultra running. So I went in and I checked it out because I had never heard of this fuel actually. And I went and looked at the label because I do know what I'm looking at when I'm looking at a nutrition label. The company made some gels, and I think that's mainly what they were talking about. The gels were a combination of sucrose and fructose with a little sodium. So nothing groundbreaking there. That's just what endurance gels are, for the most part. Then they also had a drink mix, which is what I was more interested in because we don't do gels right now.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to use that as an educational resource for this. I'm not going to name it or anything because I'm not in the business of talking shit on other products. And the truth is this one is totally sufficient for shorter duration endurance exercise, in my opinion. It's not optimal in my opinion, but it's sufficient. I just don't think it is an ultra running fuel at all. So here are the ingredients listed exactly like they are in the ingredients section at the bottom of the nutrition facts panel per FDA guidelines. I'm not going to actually show the nutrition label because I just feel like it'd be giving it all away. It's from. We'll just put them down. So the first thing, without sharing the nutrition facts panel, what can you see that is a red flag? And I'm really asking the listeners on here, and I'll give you a hint, it's electrolytes. So look at the ingredients. Tell me what you see.
There's only sodium.
Yep. The only electrolyte is sodium. There's no potassium, magnesium, calcium. Right away, I know that I wouldn't want this as an ultra-running fuel. By the way, there's none in their gels either. It's just sodium in
Just
their
sodium.
gels. Next question. Can we tell which carbohydrate this fuel has in the most abundant quantity with this limited information? And I think most people don't know this.
I do.
Yeah. Yes, we can. How can we tell? Just
What's
from
listed first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Per FDA guidelines, it has to be in order of the most to the least by weight.
Yep.
So, stemming from there, can we tell about how much of each is in there? This is trickier. So, not by this alone, but if you look at the nutrition facts or supplement facts panel, you can get a really good idea if you keep some of the things we've already learned in the carb section in mind. So, now we're really going to test if you're listening at that point. This one requires a little bit more thought. So, without sharing the panel, I will tell you there are 75 grams of total carbs and 44 grams of added sugars.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you remember from the carbohydrate section, fructose and sucrose are considered sugars, while maltodextrin and clusterdextrin are not. So, where do you go from here? Can you figure it out? I would love, if you're listening and watching the slides, to actually pause it, look at that, and see if you can figure it out. Because my goal, like I said, is to make sure you actually know what the hell you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So first, we know that there is 44 grams of added sugars. Like I said, this can only be sucrose and fructose because those are the only things that are considered sugars. Yeah. So simple math tells us 59% of the blend is from these two sugars because 44 of 75 is 59%. But these are not the main carbs. Maltodextrin is because it's first.
Yep.
So at the very minimum, maltodextrin has to be present in at least 23 grams to show up on the nutrition label in first order. See how I know that? But it could be more than that.
Yeah.
That's kind of where our knowledge is limited from now on. But it has to be at least 23 grams. The most clusterdextrin that could possibly be in this blend with that information, because now we're at 67 grams of
out
our
of
blend.
75.
Yeah, which is about 90%. So the most clusterdextrin that could possibly be in this blend is about 10% of the blend. And it could be as little as 1 gram, actually. That just depends on how much maltodextrin is in there compared to clusterdextrin. Maltodextrin could be in there at a much higher rate than 23 grams. Yeah. It could be much more than that. But either way, to me, that it just looks like to me they're using just enough clusterdextrin to say that they're using clusterdextrin without actually having to invest a lot of money into the ingredient.
And they can say on the label, clusterdextrin.
Yeah.
People are like, hell yeah, clusterdextrin.
Exactly.
But there's like none in it.
Yep. Yeah, even if this is in the highest possible quantity, 10%, it's just not enough. It's not going to do much for you at that amount,
It will mix nicely.
Yeah, it'll mix nicer. Yeah, that's the only advantage, and it'll be a lot cheaper, But let's be honest, it's probably not in there in that quantity. Yep. It's probably in there
less
towards the lower end, because if they're willing to do that, they're probably willing to just throw in a gram or two,
Yep.
So at that point, it's not going to be noticeable. So the last question here, and then we'll get off this product. How many calories in carbs are there per serving without seeing the label? Calories in carbs. 300.
I was going to answer, but I know.
She was doing math in her head. I know she knows how to calculate it, but she's not great at math.
That's what calculators are made for.
There's 300 calories in carbs. That's because there's 4 grams of carbs, or 4 calories per gram of carbs.
Does everybody know that?
You know how many people I've heard give nutrition advice that couldn't answer that question? Like, how many calories are there in a gram of carbs? 4. How many calories are there in a gram of protein? Also 4. How many calories are there in a gram of fat? There's 9 in fat, so over twice as much. So if you say that a product has, or a food has 10 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fat, saying that it has the same amount of fat and same amount of carbs is only about half true. I mean, it has the same weight,
but the
but
impact on your body is much
the amount of calories is over double for fat. And that's like week 1 nutrition. So now we're going to talk about the carbohydrates in Proxima. Hopefully you'll have a little bit of an idea of why we chose them based on what we just said. But we're going to dive into that just a little bit deeper here, and then we'll save the rest for the next Proxima C podcast.
Yeah.
So the carbohydrate profile is the meat and potatoes of any fuel. It's absolutely the most important thing when it comes to fueling. It has a massive impact on GI issues, energy swings, fat utilization, perceived exertion, and all the shit we've already talked about. Time to exhaustion, hormonal response during exercise. And with cluster dextrin, even the ability to pull other nutrients through the stomach efficiently.
Yep.
So cluster dextrin, as I said, in my opinion, it's an ultra runner's dream. It's the winner of this Technology Innovation Award as an innovative ingredient for sports nutrition for its ability to enhance stamina. This is their words: reduce intestinal discomfort, decrease perceived exertion, and suppress inflammatory stress in athletes.
And this right here, you can see that's what it looks like. That's
yeah. So you can see the cyclical
finger
structure in the fingers.
Yep.
So again, cluster dextrin has several advantages over sucrose and maltodextrin, which we talked about, including faster gastric emptying time, decreased rate of perceived exertion, increased time to exhaustion, and significantly lower instances of gastrointestinal distress. In fact, I saw a study that said, I'm just going to call it CD because I'm tired of saying cluster.
That's fine.
CD had as few instances of GI distress as water alone. So compared to other carbs, cluster dextrin also has a lower glycemic impact, maintaining a slower, more sustained energy release. It allows for improved fat oxidation while keeping blood sugar stable. So sucrose and maltodextrin are no comparison to that. They lose on all factors except for price and mixability. Because CD is kind of a pain in the ass to mix sometimes, but it's an easy fix in my opinion.
There's easy workarounds.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't fill your bottle all the way, and then you allow for a little bit more shaking room, and it's good.
Yep.
So if a fuel doesn't use CD, inappropriate quantities, I guess I need to say that.
Yeah, I don't have to say they can use it, and it's great.
Then it's not great, in my opinion. It's not geared towards being the best, and that's just a fact. If you look at the studies, it might be sufficient. It might help, but it's not the best. The evidence is there. It's overwhelming. It's been shown time and time again without fail. So why doesn't everyone use it? As we said, it's cost. It's very expensive. It could be a little bit of a lack of knowledge as well, as we talked about with manufacturers. Maybe they don't actually know. Like I said, it's not just great for ultra runners. This is the best endurance carbohydrate, period. Most studies have been done on traditional endurance sports.
Period.
Yep.
I think that's how they say it these days. I think.
Period. Oh, my mouth is dry. What's that?
I'll have to ask Sid how do you say that.
Yeah.
It's the Slay Queen.
Slay Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Slay. This is the Slay Queen of carbohydrates. All right, palatinose. So palatinose, as we mentioned, and if you don't remember, go back to the carb slide and compare it to sucrose. It's a breakthrough carbohydrate for long duration endurance activities. And this is where it really shines, is during long duration stuff. If I was running a half marathon or even a marathon or a high intensity endurance thing, I would limit the amount of palatinose that I was taking in because it is very slow digesting. I would lean more towards cluster dextrin and some higher glycemic carbohydrates may be mixed in there, which is basically what Proxima C Endurance Fuel is. And then Proxima C Ultra has a much higher concentration of palatinose in it, which is really geared towards ultrarunning. So research has shown palatinose improves fat oxidation during exercise, unlike any other carbohydrate out there. Palatinose is a slow-release carbohydrate that provides a balanced, sustained energy supply, which results in better fat oxidation. Proxima C Ultra's carb profile contains 100% registered trademarked ingredients. This results in an unbeatable profile when it comes to consistency and purity.
Yeah.
Creating a standard of quality that is not matched by any other fuel out there. And it can't be topped because when you're dealing with registered trademarked ingredients, you know that you're always getting
the exact same,
the purest, the most consistent, rather than randomly sourced ingredients. They test every batch with registered trademarked ingredients.
Which is also why they're so expensive.
Absolutely. And they're innovative ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Clusterdextrin and palatinose keep the door open to utilize fat as fuel. So important in ultrarunning, while too much high glycemic carbs like maltodextrin, dextrose, and sucrose can close it. While the latter might be fine for shorter endurance efforts, they are suboptimal for ultras. So what does your current fuel use? You can look at the label and find out. And you can probably find out how much of it uses at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be a fun thing for you to do, to scurry over to the cabinet and check out what it uses. So aside from clusterdextrin and palatinose, one of the few primary differences between Prox Ultra and Prox Endurance Fuel is the carb profile. Endurance Fuel contains a similar amount of clusterdextrin, which is a lot. I'm not going to tell you the exact quantities we use, but if you have a bottle of Proxima at home, you can actually figure this out. If not, you should buy one. You're
empowering the people.
Yeah, that's fine. I want you to know what's in mine because I want you to compare it to other people's.
Yeah.
So similar amounts of CD, significantly less palatinose, and small amounts of dextrose and fructose in endurance fuel. The fructose is in there because we don't use a lot of palatinose in there for reasons I mentioned previously. And a little additional fructose was necessary to take advantage of the fructose transporter that we talked about earlier. There's also a small amount of dextrose in there, and that helps create some rapidly absorbing and immediately usable fuel that kind of helps preserve glycogen right out of the gate and can help with higher intensity exercise. So that results in a slightly higher glycemic impact for Proxima Endurance Fuel, which means it's likely superior to Proxima Ultra when taking on shorter but still long efforts. That's
shorter ultras.
Yeah. I mean, but it'd be great for marathons too. I mean, it'd be great for a lot of things. That said, when compared to other fuels, the glycemic impact is still super low. I mean, it is the best there is until Ultra comes out for ultras. Because in the beginning, it was designed specifically for that still.
Yeah.
So I think that is about it. And I hope that wasn't too much and too horribly boring. But I hope I kind of differentiated between the two because that was kind of one of my main goals with this.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people didn't really know what the difference was going to be.
Yeah.
When they came out.
Yeah, that's true. Sure. So we're going to do a discount code as we do in all of our episodes. And we're going to do a discount code for obviously Proxima C Endurance Fuel because we don't have Ultra yet.
Hopefully 4 months for Ultra. 3 or 4 months.
Hopefully less. Yeah. See.
We'll see. We don't expect much these days.
Yeah. We just learn to keep our expectations at home. So let's do a code for new Proxima users only. If you've never ordered it before, we'll give you...
Let's do 25% off.
Ooh, wow.
Let's give them the opportunity to get free shipping.
Okay.
So that would be up to 3 containers. Because if you ordered 3, you'd get free shipping because it's $75 for its free shipping.
Yep.
No more than 3. in only one order. You
Yep.
can't get one and then get two later. The coupon code only works for new users, and it only works once.
Mm-hmm.
You can order anywhere from 1 to 3 Proxima Cs.
Yeah.
25% off. It's a
Great.
hell of a good deal.
You'll never find that again.
Except for at our races. That's the only time you'll find it.
Yep.
Any announcements?
We're going to be timing Skyline Scramble next week.
Next week,
out
yeah.
in good old Topeka, Kansas.
That's right.
So we'll probably see a lot of you there, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the next episode of the Proxima podcast.
Next weekend?
I think so.
We hope so.
Well, we hope so. That's the plan anyways.
Yeah, we leave on Thursday for Topeka, so
Yep.
We'll see if we can fit it in. We're going to try to.
We'll try hard.
All right, guys.
That's it. Thanks so much for listening to Chase. I hope you understood everything he was talking about. And if you have any other questions, feel free to comment and reach out. We're happy to help.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thanks. See you next time.